You sit before your screen watching as numbers flicker and change. Green, red, green again. Each shift represents dollars gained or lost, real money that appears or vanishes with the casual indifference of digital light. This is the strange alchemy of trading where discipline transforms chaos into order, randomness into pattern, and patience into profit. But something happens in this space between decision and outcome. Something primal, something dangerous. I've seen it countless times. The profitable trader who begins to believe in their own infallibility, the disciplined strategist who abandons their rules at the first taste of unexpected success, the patient builder who suddenly cannot wait another minute to take greater risks. It's not failure that destroys most traders, it's success. Success plants the seeds of destruction because it feeds our most primitive emotion, greed. The same mindset that drives you to pursue excellence becomes the very force that undermines your achievements. The psychology of trading isn't about understanding markets, it's about understanding yourself. Millionaire traders aren't born from perfect strategy. They emerge from perfect self-control. Let me tell you what most trading educators won't. Your greatest enemy isn't the market. Your greatest enemy is the voice that whispers more when you've already won enough. The impulse that pushes for acceleration when the road ahead demands caution. The confidence that transforms into arrogance before you even notice the change. The market doesn't care about your dreams. It doesn't recognize your past successes or reward your ambitions. It simply responds to behavior, and behavior, unlike the market, is something you can control. What separates the consistent winner from the occasional victor isn't intelligence, information, or even opportunity. It's the mastery of fear and the discipline to resist greed. This is the path we're about to walk together. Consider what happens when you first taste genuine success in trading, not the small wins that keep you engaged, but the significant victory that changes how you see yourself. That moment when your account grows beyond expectation, when your strategy produces results that confirm your deepest hopes. What happens in your mind? For most, this moment of triumph triggers a fundamental shift in psychology. The discipline that brought you to this point, the careful analysis, the strict adherence to rules, the emotional control, begins to feel unnecessary. After all, if you've succeeded beyond your expectations, perhaps your potential is greater than you imagined. Perhaps the rules that guided you were too conservative. Perhaps you've been patient for too long. This is where the mind begins its dangerous negotiation with reality. Money has a unique power to distort perception. Unlike other forms of achievement, financial success provides immediate, tangible feedback. The numbers in your account don't lie. They grow or shrink based on your decisions. This direct relationship between action and outcome creates an illusion of control that few other pursuits offer. Each dollar gained reinforces your belief in your own judgment. Each successful trade strengthens the conviction that you possess special insight. But the market operates on principles far beyond any individual's control or understanding. It encompasses millions of decisions, countless variables, and forces that no single mind can fully grasp. Your success, regardless of how impressive it may seem, always contains elements of timing and circumstance that have nothing to do with your skill. The trader who forgets this truth has already begun their decline. I've watched brilliant minds succumb to this pattern, men and women who built their accounts steadily for months or years only to destroy everything in weeks once greed replaced caution. The confidence that serves as necessary fuel for the beginning trader becomes toxic when it evolves into certainty. There exists a paradox at the heart of trading psychology. You must believe in your ability to succeed while simultaneously accepting that many outcomes remain beyond your control. You must cultivate the mindset of a winner while preparing emotionally for regular losses. You must desire growth while remaining content with your current position. This balance, this emotional discipline, defies our natural inclinations. Human beings aren't wired for this kind of psychological contradiction. We prefer simple narratives: I am right or I am wrong, I am winning or I am losing, I am smart or I am foolish. The successful trader lives in the uncomfortable space between these extremes. They recognize that consistency matters more than occasional brilliance. They understand that protecting capital takes precedence over multiplying it. They accept that long-term results emerge from short-term restraint. But most importantly, they recognize the emotion of greed not as motivation but as warning. They feel its familiar pull, the urge to increase position size after a win, to trade more frequently when markets are volatile, to abandon stop losses when confidence is high, and they respond not with surrender but with heightened vigilance. The disciplined trader knows that greed feels exactly like brilliant insight. It masquerades as clarity. It presents itself as opportunity that cannot wait. And in this disguise, it destroys more trading accounts than any market crash ever could. The question isn't whether you'll feel greed. You will. The question is whether you'll recognize it for what it is when it arrives. Let me tell you about the moment everything changes. It arrives differently for each trader, but its essence remains the same. You've been following your system. You've been respecting your rules. You've been growing your account steadily, if unspectacularly. Then comes the trade that exceeds all expectations, the position that doubles your projected profit, the investment that returns in days what you expected in months. This is the pivotal moment. This is where your future as a trader is determined. Because in this moment of extraordinary success, your mind offers you a dangerous proposition. What if this isn't luck? What if this exceptional outcome reveals your true potential? What if the careful rules you've followed are actually limiting what you could achieve? And there it begins. The subtle justifications, the small exceptions, the slight increases in position size, the decision to remain in trades a bit longer than your system dictates. None of these adjustments seems significant in isolation. Each can be rationalized as a minor refinement rather than a fundamental abandonment of discipline. But these small compromises contain the seeds of destruction. The psychology of trading success operates on principles that contradict our most basic instincts. When we succeed in most areas of life, we're rewarded for pressing our advantage, for striking while the iron is hot, for capitalizing on momentum. But in trading, this instinctive response leads directly to failure. The very emotion that drives human achievement in other domains, the hunger for more, better, faster results, becomes the mechanism of destruction in the market. Think about how money affects your perception. Each dollar represents not just currency but possibility, freedom, security, status. When your trading account grows, these abstract values grow with it. Your emotional relationship with money colors every decision, often without your awareness. The fear of losing these potential futures drives impulsive action. The excitement of expanding them encourages excessive risk. This is why trading psychology matters more than strategy. This is why mindset determines outcome more reliably than method. The successful trader must develop a relationship with money that differs fundamentally from conventional wisdom. You must see your capital not as wealth to be multiplied but as a tool to be preserved. Every dollar in your account represents capability, not consumption. It is your means of production, not a measure of success. The millionaire trader understands that consistency compounds more powerfully than occasional brilliance. They focus not on making money but on executing their strategy with precision. They measure success not by the profit of individual trades but by their adherence to process. They recognize that spectacular gains often precede spectacular losses when discipline is abandoned. Consider the mathematics of loss. A 50% drawdown requires a 100% gain just to break even. A 75% loss demands a 300% return to recover. These asymmetrical relationships between loss and recovery explain why capital preservation must always precede capital growth. The trader who prioritizes protection over expansion isn't being conservative, they're being mathematical. Your trading rules aren't arbitrary restrictions. They're the distillation of market reality into actionable principles. They exist not to limit your potential but to ensure your survival. When greed encourages you to bypass these rules, it's offering a bargain no different than the casino's promise that your losing streak is due to end. It's asking you to exchange proven process for hopeful outcome. The patient trader understands something the greedy trader never grasps. Time is an ally, not an adversary. The compounding effect of consistent, modest returns eventually produces results that aggressive trading cannot match, because aggressive trading inevitably produces the losses that derail compounding. I've seen traders destroy years of progress in days because they couldn't resist the urge to accelerate their timeline for wealth. I've watched disciplined professionals abandon their systems during market extremes, believing that exceptional circumstances justify exceptional responses. In every case, the pattern remains the same. The abandonment of process in pursuit of outcome leads to neither. Your trading psychology must be built on acceptance of fundamental truths. Markets will always include random elements beyond your control. No strategy works in all conditions. Losses are not failures but costs of doing business. Risk management matters more than entry points. Consistency matters more than intensity. But above all, you must accept that your emotional responses to money will never fully disappear. Fear and greed will always arise. The master trader isn't someone who has eliminated these emotions. They're someone who recognizes them without being controlled by them. This is the discipline that separates the consistently profitable from the occasionally lucky. Think of your trading rules as a contract with reality. They reflect your understanding of how markets actually work, not how you wish they would work. When you violate this contract in moments of greed, you're not being bold or opportunistic, you're denying reality itself. You're choosing the comfort of illusion over the productivity of truth. The confidence required for trading success walks a narrow path. Too little, and you'll never execute your strategy with conviction. Too much, and you'll believe yourself exempt from market principles. This balance cannot be maintained without constant self-awareness. You must develop the capacity to observe your emotional states without being captured by them. You must learn to recognize the physical sensations of greed, the accelerated heartbeat, the narrowed focus, the sense of urgency that isn't justified by external circumstances. When these sensations arise, they aren't signals to act, they're warnings to pause. The most dangerous moment in any trader's journey occurs when they begin to believe they've mastered the market. This belief never arrives as an explicit thought. It emerges subtly, in the willingness to increase risk after a series of wins, in the tendency to dismiss contradictory information, in the growing certainty that your perceptions are objectively true rather than personally biased. This is how profitable traders transform into consistent losers, not through a single catastrophic decision, but through the gradual erosion of the very discipline that created their initial success. The market has no memory. It doesn't care what worked for you yesterday. It doesn't reward your past discipline with future success. Each moment demands the same level of emotional control, the same adherence to process, the same acceptance of uncertainty. The trader who relaxes their standards because they believe they've earned the right to do so has fundamentally misunderstood the nature of market reality. Your trading results will ultimately reflect your relationship with uncertainty, not your analytical abilities. In a domain where complete information is impossible and future outcomes remain probabilistic, your capacity to act decisively without the comfort of certainty determines your long-term success. This capacity isn't strengthened by seeking more information or developing more complex strategies. It's developed through the repeated practice of emotional regulation. It grows through the daily discipline of following your rules even when intuition screams for exception. It matures in the willingness to accept small losses rather than allowing them to grow into catastrophes. The truly successful trader understands that their edge emerges not from prediction but from behavior, not from knowing what will happen but from knowing how they'll respond regardless of what happens. This behavioral advantage compounds over time in a way that informational advantages cannot, because information becomes rapidly distributed while emotional discipline remains rare. This is the ultimate paradox of trading psychology. The more intensely you focus on making money, the less likely you are to do so consistently. The more you chase exceptional returns, the more likely you are to experience exceptional losses. The more you seek to accelerate the process of wealth creation, the more you risk derailing it entirely. The millionaire mindset in trading isn't about aggressiveness or confidence or even intelligence. It's about patience, consistency, emotional regulation, and above all, the humility to recognize that the market's complexity will always exceed your understanding. Embrace these principles, and you move beyond the destructive cycle of greed that transforms profitable traders into perpetual losers. You enter a different relationship with the market, one based on respect rather than conquest, on process rather than outcome, on sustainability rather than intensity. This is how wealth is actually built in the markets, not through spectacular wins, but through the patient accumulation of modest advantages, not through brilliance, but through the avoidance of catastrophic mistakes, not through prediction, but through preparation for multiple possibilities. The choice between these approaches confronts every trader who tastes initial success. The emotion of that moment, the intoxication of seeing your account grow, of feeling validated in your decisions, of imagining accelerated progress toward your financial goals, makes it difficult to choose wisely. But it is in precisely this moment that your trading future is determined. Let me leave you with a truth that has survived every market cycle, every technological innovation, and every trading methodology. The quality of your decisions determines the quality of your results. Not immediately, not obviously, but inevitably. In a domain where randomness plays a significant role in short-term outcomes, you must shift your focus from results to process. Judge each day not by the dollars gained or lost, but by your adherence to the discipline that defines sustainable success. Measure your growth not by account size but by emotional control. Track your improvement not through profit percentage but through your decreasing need for external validation. The market offers a perfect mirror for your relationship with uncertainty, fear, and greed. It reflects your capacity for patience when opportunity seems abundant. It reveals your commitment to rules when intuition suggests exception. It exposes your relationship with money not as you imagine it to be, but as it actually exists. Trading well demands a paradoxical mindset: aggressive patience, confident humility, passionate detachment. These psychological contradictions cannot be maintained without conscious effort. They erode under the constant pressure of market action unless deliberately reinforced through daily practice. Consider creating a decision journal. After each trade, record not just the technical factors that influenced your choice, but the emotional state that accompanied it. Note the physical sensations, the quality of your focus, the presence or absence of urgency. Over time, patterns will emerge. You'll begin to recognize the subtle differences between intuition based on pattern recognition and impulse driven by emotional need. The consistent application of trading rules transforms psychology more effectively than any affirmation or visualization technique. When you commit to a specific process and honor that commitment regardless of outcome, you're training your mind to value discipline over desire. You're developing the habit of responding to market conditions rather than reacting to internal states. Remember that long-term success requires surviving the present. The trader who preserves capital during periods of confusion positions themselves to capitalize on clarity when it returns. The investor who maintains emotional equilibrium during market extremes retains the cognitive resources necessary for effective decision-making. The discipline to do nothing when conditions don't match your criteria often prevents the losses that would otherwise compromise your future. The millionaire mindset in trading isn't focused on becoming a millionaire. It's focused on making the next decision correctly, knowing that wealth emerges from process rather than pursuit. It values the consistency that compounds rather than the intensity that consumes. It respects the mathematics of risk and reward rather than the emotion of fear and greed. Your relationship with money will always contain elements beyond rational control. The symbols and meanings you attach to dollars influence your trading decisions in ways difficult to recognize without deliberate reflection. By acknowledging these emotional attachments rather than denying them, you gain the power to decide rather than react. The market doesn't reward intelligence, information, or insight beyond what's required for basic competence. It rewards behavioral discipline. It favors the trader who controls risk regardless of opportunity. It compounds the advantage of the investor who maintains perspective during periods of market irrationality. This is the counterintuitive truth that separates consistent winners from the masses of traders who experience just enough success to ensure their eventual failure. The path to exceptional returns begins with the acceptance of ordinary results. When you release the need for each trade to be profitable, you free yourself to trade according to probability rather than possibility. When you embrace the statistical reality of random distribution, you protect yourself from the emotional devastation of perceiving normal losses as personal failures. When you prioritize process over outcome in each moment, you ensure positive outcomes over time. This is the discipline that transforms trading from speculation to profession. This is the mindset that distinguishes those who extract wealth from markets from those who merely transfer it to others. This is the psychology that allows profit to compound without being undermined by the very success it creates. The choice is yours with every decision, every trade, every moment of market engagement. Choose wisely.